problem about talking about this kind of stuff is then people start to take it as gospel or whatever. You know, like CK just might have been trolling when he said that. He might have just been exaggerating. But I don't want you to think that, oh, well, everything's got to be pretentious. It's got to be about this and that, and it's got to be, you know, perfectly made and all this stuff, because when you have too much of those elements come in, when you say, how can you have too much of something being perfectly made or too technical? Well, look at Stanley Kubrick, you know, sometimes his movies, not the movies themselves, because I think probably all of his films are worthy of admiration and examination on some level or another, but they were too technically made, at least from a filmmaking aspect. You know, he's doing a ridiculous number of takes on things. Or something like Alejandro Jodorowsky's Magic Mountain, which was his follow-up to El Topo, which was totally out there, you know, just full of bizarre, symbolic, mystical, religious, violent imagery. Very, very finely crafted, very well technically made, shot beautifully, but it was missing that fun element, those genre elements that really appeal to us, really to the inner child in us all, to whatever we were into when we were 12 years old, basically. You know, that's what's going to appeal to us now as fully formed adults, because those are our impressionable years, whatever imprints upon us then. Oh, here's one of my, I don't know if he's ever been on the camera before. This is Zen. He's the outdoor cat. The neighbor kids used to call him Simba. See, he looks like Simba. But have we lost our... Oh, darn it. Sorry I did that. He came in, he changed the light there. Damn it, it made me lose my train of thought there, Zen. What am I going to talk about now? With Magic Mountain, Jodorowsky lost touch of the fun elements in a movie. You know, Magic Mountain is its own kind of thing, but it's not necessarily entertaining. It's a little too out there. There's probably people that trip out on acid or whatever and watch it and think it's the greatest thing ever, but it's not going to appeal to the mass, to the crowds, to the audiences, but it's got all that other stuff into it. So even as I'm sitting here telling you, well, things have got to be well technically made, and they've got to have, you know, deeper meaning, and they've got to fulfill the conventions of the genre, it's got to be horrifying. Even focusing on those things too much is a bad thing. So you've got to have the fun elements, you've got to have the real genre elements. You know, what Alfred Hitchcock would say with the chase, where he said the purest form of cinema is the chase. I mean, that was Hitchcock's words, you know, and it's got to be fun. It's got to, I call it revel in the genre. Where if it's a kung fu movie, you want to see the baddest damn kung fu movie ever. That's why you go back and watch Bruce Lee's stuff. It still stands up today. You know, Enter the Dragon is a timeless movie. The fun element really has to be there in the movies. I mean, that's the way I believe it, because we don't always want to make movies just for jaded adults. I mean, though, yeah, we want to make adult entertainment, but we want to reach the people. You know, you want to do both. You want to make things that will appeal to adults. You want to make things that will appeal to the child inside of us. And I guess in horror, we're trying to frighten adults and children. And so on, it's tricky. It's tricky doing that. You know, you can either go the visceral reality way, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or you can go into something more fantastic, like you know, just simple zombies are more fantastical. Whether it's Night of the Living Dead, Shaun of the Dead, Zombieland, Feast and the Monsters. These different approaches to horror, they really create different kinds of effects. Like, there are people that are going to be more frightened by a guy with a chainsaw than they are going to be frightened by a monster with, you know, a mouthful of 4-inch fangs, you know. Because one they know is make-believe, and the other they know is real. They can encounter you know, a psycho with a chainsaw. That's what made Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho so amazing. And luckily, when I sit here in my vault, yeah, I have crap all around me where I can reference anything. So there's a recent from the Horror Hound magazine, which is the best one on the stands. I'll tell you what, Christopher Alexander has brought Fangoria, has given it new life, resurrected it, so to speak, and it's pretty good again. So, but the thing is it's got to have that fun element too. All these elements have to be balanced, and finding this balance, that's the trick. And we as filmmakers need to be aware of all these different aspects so we can work on it and try to bring it to fruition, really try to give our audiences the most bang for their buck, you know, no matter where it is. And my audience isn't just Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, fuck that, come on, man. You gotta be better than just good enough around here. Just good enough? Come on. If you're not competing with Hitchcock, Argento, Spielberg, Cronenberg, what are you doing? A good analogy would be professional wrestling. Okay, and The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, who you can find on Twitter at The Rock, says is if you're in professional wrestling and you don't want to be the champ, then why are you in it? He says, because that should be the goal. That should be why you're in the game. You want to be the champion, the world heavyweight champion. That's what I want, to be the world heavyweight champion of filmmakers. Horror filmmakers would be great. I'll take superhero filmmakers too. You know, any of them would be fine, but those are my aspirations, my goals. Beyond that, you want to reach people, you want to say something about the world, the state of affairs that we're all in. Talk about everything. Talk about human relationships, talk about emotions, talk about religion, politics, science, all these things. Entertain the people, give them a chase, give them a thrill ride from beginning to end. And yeah, that onus is on us as the filmmakers. We've got to make something. I try to make my movies fun and accessible. Ghost, I intentionally made to be a family horror film in the tradition of Poltergeist. Poltergeist was a movie I watched on TV as a kid. It was, of course, edited for television, but scary, scary movie. It's still scary today. And yeah, it seems scary to adults too, even though it's supernatural in origin. You know, it's not a guy with a chainsaw. It's supernatural. So it's scary to adults too. It's weird. There's just so many different, not weird, but that's the great thing about horror, is there's so many different approaches to it. There's Scarecrow at Midnight, the t-shirt there. So many different ways. And here you have a scarecrow with a scythe. Yeah, that's probably only going to be scary to 12-year-olds. So what is, you know, how does the filmmaker make that scary? You know, how do those elements come to play? I mean, everybody knows scarecrows aren't real unless you're a 12-year-old. Now, a 12-year-old might watch this and say, man, that's the scariest thing I've ever seen. But I hope that it appeals to adults too. I hope that there are some moments that catch them inside. They might make them feel those horrific emotions somehow. But, you know, and then at the same time, I hope it's entertaining. And that's where, even with, you know, I really threw the black comedy over the top, you know, guys under the bus throughout this whole video, but that's where they succeed. They reach out to the audience. They go for the lowest common denominator, the gross outs, you know, the nudity, you know, the over the topness, you know, it's the real trauma qualities that are easily accessible. I mean, yeah, so not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I love some trauma films. Toxic Avenger is one of my all-time favorites. So obviously that was the first one. Class of Nukem High I like. That's not one of my top favorites. Romeo and Juliet. So many. Toxic Avenger 4, Citizen Toxie. They do great documentaries. So if if you're an aspiring filmmaker or just a fan of how films are made, you know, if you want to know more about the process, watch Lloyd Kaufman's documentaries. They're fantastic because it's all behind the scenes and it really shows you their odyssey of making those movies. And you know, big ups to Lloyd for making it happen after all these years. There's another one, Monomaniacal, from Michael Sharp's movie, from sharpedgefilms.com. Sharp Edge Films, rather, not the .com part, but starring none other than Katie Bearden, the lovely young ingenue who you also see in movies such as Scarecrow at Midnight, and also Desdemona 6 from my buddies at Last Call Pictures. What's up, guys? Yeah, and there's another really cool movie. It's kind of a I was a videographer on that movie as well, and I know what the whole thing is about. But think Stephen King, John Carpenter's Christine. You know, it's a killer car movie, so it's all you need to know. Killer car with beautiful women. So this is my challenge to independent filmmakers: is just do your best, guys. I mean, don't ever go at it with the attitude that you're just trying to be the best on the block. I mean, try to be the best ever. I mean, we need people to make honest expressions. I mean, you know, over-the-top comedies are good, but try to go beyond just the simple elements. Zombieland is not an over-the-top comedy, but it is a comedy, and it is a zombie. Movies have to find that. They've got to find that balance. They've got to reach out to the audience. They've got to be technically well made. Now, here's something. Feast, I mean, to try to imply that it has some kind of deeper meaning behind that is, you know, almost foolish. I mean, these guys were just trying to have fun with it. It's definitely a black comedy. It's definitely a monster movie. But there is a meaning behind it, and I think that meaning is really the spirit of anarchy that the whole movie is infused with. You know, the Feast movies were made with a real I don't give a fuck attitude. I mean, they're crazy. They subvert expectations through the entire trilogy. It's very hard to do. I think it's, I say it again and again, I think they're the Evil Dead series of New Millennium, though ironically there's no main male lead except for Bartender to be the you know, Bruce Campbell Ash character. And Bartender is not a typical hero at all, you know, played by the inimitable one and only, the amazing, you know, manly, studly, rugged, no bullshit taken Clu Gulager. And what can you say about him? And he's an American legend, an American treasure. Amazing performance from him in Return of the Living Dead, and he's had parts in really big parts in other horror films as well. So one of the Critters movies, I might be mistaken on that, but anyway, but he comes back tour de force in the Feast series. It's got to be fun. We've got to have that stuff under there. So this is the challenge, guys. We've got to challenge ourselves to go all the way. Guys like Scott Goldberg are doing that. Guys like Robert Fillion are doing that. You know, we're trying to do that. Michael Sharp is trying to do that. Just give us a chance. So the challenge to Deadpit is, guys, keep doing what you're doing. I don't blame you for being more selective. If you look at something and the cover, you can't read the name on the cover. I mean, in their episode about independent horror, where they tried to watch 8 different independent films and wound up watching none of them, some of them they couldn't even read the cover. So guys, if somebody's presenting something to you where they haven't thought it out, where they're not taking it serious about the kind of image they're going to give to you, where they're not trying to give you something that'll hopefully resonate or entertain you or intrigue you, or at least just let you be able to read the name of the movie itself, then don't watch it. But you know, if you get something, the package looks good, the cover looks cool, watch it, check it out. Let us know what you think. Deadpit has to support independent horror. If you don't, nobody will. I mean, you guys are the link in the chain. Once you break it, boom, it's over. It's over.